Hello, welcome back to HowtoDandD. Yes, that's right. Oops, too soon, too something, like something. Anyway, welcome to HowtoDandD. This is where I talk about stuff. Gosh, please don't let my nose go completely bananas. It's one of those things, man. I am still fighting everything, and will it ever end? I don't know. I feel like there's no end in sight. But that's beside the point because you're here to have me talk about Spelljammer, and I have every intentions of talking about Spelljammer. So I'm going to put up a poll. I'll get you to answer that poll. This is quite a small book, the Astral Adventurer's Guide, but I actually have quite a lot to say. How's it going, Nacho Man? How are you? Nacho Man is a patron. Hi, Phil. How's it going? So here we go. Okay, so it's a small book, but I have a lot to say about it. So get yourself a drink, and get some food if you need some food, and then let's have a look at this thing. I will be showing you the entire book as I talk about it. Okay, and I'm going to say it right now. I prefer reviews where I get to see everything in the book. So since that's sort of where my head is at, that's really what I'm going to do for today. For those of you who were looking for something else, that's fine. I understand. But anyway. Where is it? Okay. I think I got it all. There. Here we go. Oh, I forgot to press the button. Yep, I pressed the button. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, it's the end of the week. I'm tired. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. And today's topic is, in fact, yes, Spelljammer. It's taken a long time for me to get around to doing this. This is intended to be a review of the Astral Adventurer's Guide. This is a Dungeons and Dragons 5e book. This is a review of the Spelljammer Adventures in Space. There's 3-box set book. It also includes a Dungeon Master screen. But I'm only going to actually address or discuss the Astral Adventurer's Guide or the campaign guide itself, because I thought all the other stuff, like that, can kind of wait as far as I'm concerned, because I would like to be able to focus in on one thing at a time, and that's why I'm doing it that way. So the first thing I want to say with regard to this book and the contents within it is there's some really good stuff in here, and then there's some stuff that I'm not so happy with. and that's to be expected with any book that you get. I mean, let's be fair. You can't like everything, and I understand this. So we have a contents page, yes. And then we get into sort of we start moving into the book itself. Well, actually, do we? We actually have an explanation. Like, this is quite a small book, and we now explain some of the stuff that's in the book. This whole page, I feel like, was almost a waste of my time. This section here, the first adventurer table, is pretty good as starting adventure seeds or adventure hooks or ideas. But here's the problem. Where are the rest of the adventure ideas for exploring the astral sea and wild space and the multiverse? Because it's not there. They left it out of my book, or did you get it in your book? Because I don't see it in my book. I'm a little concerned about that. So there are some backgrounds in here that are worth discussing. So the Astral Drifter grants 2 skills. I'm not going to tell you what the skills are. It doesn't really matter as far as I'm concerned. You can change those out if you wanted to. You get 2 languages. You get appropriate equipment for something like an Astral Drifter. The Astral Drifter title tells you pretty much everything about it without even reading what the Astral Drifter is supposed to be about. You kind of got an idea of what that means. You're ageless. You've got that ageless aspect. You have a campaign secret that you discuss with your dungeon master to determine what they think would be fun or what you think would be fun. And I think that's a great thing. I'm glad to see that there. You also get a divine contact, and you also get the magic initiate feat for the cleric. So it has to be the cleric cantrips and spell list, which personally I think is almost perfect. As a background for the setting that we're looking at, I think that's almost perfect. I don't think you could have done too much more to make that even any better than it was. Of course, it isn't perfect, but we'll come back to that. It's almost perfect. Wild Spacer grants 2 skills, 2 tool proficiencies, appropriate equipment for something like a Wild Spacer. You get a close encounter with basically a nightmarish monster, something you can remember, look back on. You get the weightless combat ability, and you also get the tough feat. This is nearly brilliant design as far as I'm concerned. I was almost completely happy with this. You probably already guessed what I'm not happy with, and so I'm going to tell you. I really like what they've done here with the Spelljammer backgrounds, except the including those feats. Those feats being included because almost all those feats, to a certain degree, are very much combat focused, and they're the sorts of things that you have as a superhero. Because this background has been built to already be extraordinary in terms of a hero. You don't start off as being a normal person, you're already an extraordinary person. Before you even start taking up classes. This is one of the aspects that I don't like. My major concern is that the personality traits, the ideals, the bonds, the flaws table, they have not been they're excluded them. There are no personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Are they assuming that players and dungeon masters will sort that out themselves? Possibly. But the problem was that the backgrounds having those there was the outstanding, innovative feature of Dungeons & Dragons 5e. It's what made it stand out from all of the other versions of the game that never had anything like that. And now it doesn't have it. Why would you do this? Someone is not thinking clearly. But anyway, let's move on to races. There are a bunch of races. They follow the same Tasha's Cauldron of Everything motto, which is you can pretty much do whatever you like with it. But here we go. The first 2 that I have to talk about. The first one is the Astral Elf. It's just a combination of the High Elf and the Eladrin, which is mechanically fine as far as I'm concerned, but the story presented is extremely weak in my opinion. I didn't really like it for the story element. The Auto-Gnome has some clever and fitting traits like armored casing, built for success, I kind of like that. Healing machine to get around the problem that it's a construct. Mechanical nature, and then you've got Sentry's Rest, which is kind of like a version of robot elf trance. And then you've got specialized design. It's got a lot of different features. It really makes this thing stand out compared to everything else. But it still suffers from a weak origin story. Although I will say that the Auto-Gnome history table is very creative. I actually kind of like that quite a lot. That was quite impressive in my opinion. The next 2 races, playable races that you can use, there is the GIF. These are strong space hippos skilled with guns that have a very bland lore and story origin. They have limited mechanical appeal as far as I can see. They do have this astral spark, this firearms mastery, which basically means you can use guns and you're good at doing that. The hippo build means you can lift things and drag things well. Okay. Disappointing in every way for me. The GIF was not something that struck me as something I would want to play. And frankly, even if it wasn't strong mechanically, but it had a good story to it, I would be happier. And the problem is not so much with the GIF in terms of historically, because historically the GIF is really cool. It's just in this book, as presented in this book, they're not great. Hadozi, the flying space monkeys. Do you know, I think the Hadozi are one of my favorite story elements that they have presented here. So the Hadozi, the flying space monkeys, are enslaved by an evil wizard who experimented on them till liberated by the wizard's apprentices. Now, if you don't know or see the story behind this and recognize the story they have appropriated, I won't explain, okay? Which is wonderfully sad. It's dark. It's horrifically twisted as an origin story. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And there's a lot of it. There's heaps of it. And then Wizards of the Coast changed the story for the HowtoDandD after social media outcry, and then they decided to make it a tamer parental guidance version to avoid some sort of witch hunt, which I think is crazy, but they are a company and people do some weird stuff on social media and they can have a huge effect even when they're quite insane. And I consider it quite insane what they're going for. I mean, the reality is this book is probably tailored for a much younger audience, and the much younger audience, the parents do not want them to have things like this. Mechanically, the HowtoDandD is actually awful and quite boring in my opinion, and also untested abilities as far as I can tell. They've got dexterous feet, which is kind of all right. They've got glide, and they've got HowtoDandD resilience. And I have to say, gliding at Mark II was really amusing when it first came out and when I read this. But it got fixed quickly by Wizards of the Coast. So if you were hoping to be able to glide at Mark II, sorry, it's gone. So that's the only element of it mechanically that I thought was just, well, I wouldn't say I liked it, but it did make me laugh. And, you know, if Wizards of the Coast can make me laugh, then they're doing a pretty good job. I consider that a vast improvement. Okay, the next one is the Plasmoid. I understand the Plasmoid is very popular. This is a strange ooze race with a great explanation for their their biology is explained so well. When I looked at that section, I was saying, wow, somebody's really gone to a lot of effort. But it has no lore or origin story at all. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's not a Skerrick. I read through it twice. Nothing. Mechanically, the Plasmoid is what you would expect. It's amorphous, okay? It can move through tight spaces. It's got dark vision, because like every race does. It can hold its breath for a long time. Natural resilience, of course, it's going to have some sort of resilience, because apparently everything does now. And also it's got shape self, so it can change its shape, which is cool. Very cool, but a very shallow story origin. Not shallow in terms of biology. Done a really good job here. Probably better than any of the other ones. Okay? But shallow story origin, because there's really nothing here at all. The Thri-kreen goes right back to Dark Sun, but now we have this insectoid race running around in the Astral Sea, which it really always did anyway, so that's fine. It has decent lore for the very small text entry that it has, and it's quite small. The actual lore that they've provided you with is pretty much on par, and it's decent. It's not throwaway stuff, and it's got great mechanics. So out of all of the races, I would say the Thri-kreen, they've actually put probably more effort into this than anything else. Chameleon Carapace, I like this. It's basically mage armor for an insect race. It's got dark vision, of course, because like everything does, again. It's got a secondary arms, so you've got additional arms you can use for doing things. Sleepless, yeah, okay. And then you've got Thri-kreen Telepathy. I was really impressed with this playable race. Out of all of the playable races here, I think that they probably did the best job out of all of them right here. This one is the one that stands out to me as being the best design of all. Now, there are a couple of things I want to say about the races. These races are significantly more powerful than any other races and probably shouldn't be used in any other campaign other than a Spelljammer campaign or adventure, because there's no way that the other races can keep up with this. They just would not be able to. They're not on par. I feel like these are far stronger, certainly far more interesting in many respects. Not all of them, but I certainly would say that they can't be considered as something that you put right alongside everything else. I am unimpressed that there is no suggested names for any of the playable races whatsoever, which I found very useful as a player and a dungeon master when I'm making up an NPC. So as a player, when I kind of get stuck and I don't know what name to give them, I can look through there and there's a name, but now there isn't. That's not great. The new flexible ability scores is generally fine as far as I'm concerned, but I would have liked to see at least one of the ability score increases connected to a specific physical or mental advantage that a race possesses to differentiate them. Now, I know this is not a popular and modern concept, but I never liked the idea of fixing the ability scores, every single one of them, okay, where there was no flexibility. I really liked how you got something like the half-elf, and one of them was fixed, and the rest you could just move around wherever you wanted to. And I really like that concept, and I think that's probably what I would have preferred here rather than what they've done so far. Potentially not being able to speak your own race's language is also bizarre, because it's possible for that to take place. And I would like to see the races get at least 3 languages, not just 2 languages. Now, for somebody like myself who only speaks 1 language, it's hard for me to understand that I might be dealing with somebody who speaks multiple languages. But in fact, if you look at people around the world, many people speak at least 3 languages. So why is it in this particular multiverse we're not allowing that? It makes more sense, particularly in the multiverse, particularly when you're dealing with so many different races. And in most campaigns that deal with Dungeons and Dragons, you're dealing with a lot more races. It's not like Earth, where there's humans and then there's animals. That's it. Now, you could say we break up our humans into different races in terms of, what part of the world they're positioned in. But ultimately, I guess you could call this about species. I would like to see a more doubling down on languages. Give them more languages, okay? Make it easier to communicate with each other so we don't have to blow them up or shove a sword in them. That would be kind of nice to see. But it didn't happen. Never mind. All right, so this is where we're supposed to start getting some of the stuff that Dungeon Masters want, right? This is the Astral Adventuring section. Spelljammer Helm Duels or Fighting. It's got a very simple constitution check contest that you perform with levels of exhaustion if you fail it, okay? It's really going to be used, but at least they have included it. The fantasy astral sea physics of air envelopes and time and falling and gravity planes. It's confusing. It's stupid. It's difficult to understand. It's really long-winded for such a small book, and it's really painful to read, particularly at night when I was reading this thing. And I studied physics at school right up to the 7th form, right up to the end of before I went to university. And I can tell you now, I have read stuff in physics books that was easier to understand and made more sense than this nonsense. I hate this. Now, whether this is traditional, whether they did a better job than in the past, I don't care. I don't like this section at all. Is it obvious? Creating wild space systems appears to be discussed, but there's nothing on a person. What person couldn't figure out what they've already explained to you? I mean, frankly, I did not need this. Most people, even if they have no knowledge of space or anything, know at least the basics they just described as far as I'm concerned. So it's not like you couldn't have figured this out. This is by far the most annoying section, and it even includes a really useless map. I don't consider this a useful map. Traveling between worlds and systems in the Astral Sea didn't define anything clearly as far as I'm concerned, but traveling by thought actually made sense. The one section, that one paragraph there, is the only thing that actually made sense to me. And then we get astral fishing. Of course we do. Astral fishing is the only downtime activity offered. So apparently traveling in D&D space must be very boring and restrictive. I would have liked to have seen a bit more on downtime, but we didn't get that, unfortunately. Okay, there is a magic section. It is 2 pages long. Don't get too excited. The air bubble is a spell that allows you to breathe in the astral sea for 24 hours, which is kind of required. You kind of needed to have a spell like this. Creating a Spelljammer helm, there's a spell now allows you to magically craft a Spelljammer helm. It's expensive but necessary for the game. The fish suit is basically a spacesuit. That's very rare, and I am confused why this isn't normal adventuring gear in the Spelljammer campaign. Like, would that not be something you would have for everybody who has to go outside of the ship to do repairs, or if they, potentially need to go somewhere else where there is no air? Like, we're in space where there is air, but not always air. Like, this isn't basic adventuring gear. I don't understand that. It's really strange. I don't know why you would do something like that, but they did. You get the Spelljammer helm. It allows the owner to control a Spelljammer ship with a simple guide on purchasing this item. Vital to the campaign setting. Have no problems with it. The Wild Space Ori is essentially a portable solar system model that keeps the time and position of all of the suns, planets, moons, and comets. It's basically pulled from the Dark Crystal concept. It's been appropriated from there. If you remember watching the Dark Crystal, there was something like that, but it wasn't portable. And then I would say the magic spells and items section is very limited, but it covers the essentials, the things they absolutely needed to have. I don't think there was anything else that was absolutely required. All right, now there's a section here, Spelljammer ships. We're starting to get into that section. So ship combat between Spelljammer ships is rudimentary. It's not like Star Wars or Star Trek, the role-play game, which I think many people actually wanted something like that, where you got a lot more and you don't get anywhere near that sort of complexity. The crew rules are simple and adequate. You get captain, pilot, and gunners, basically. But it doesn't embrace a robust system for people who like complexity. And I think there's a lot of people who like complexity. I don't have a problem with simplifying the game. That's me, but not everybody likes that sort of thing. Rules for boarding a Spelljammer is kind of primitive, but it's functional. The rules for crashing into a ship, an object, an astral body are acceptable, till you have to contend with overlapping gravity planes and air envelopes, which is one of my pet peeves in this whole thing. Is like, I don't like them at all. I just wish that they would just say make it up, because it would have been easier to figure out. I have no issues with the ship repairs, with or without magic, because it provides plenty of downtime and it makes sense. Frankly, I know a lot of people were upset by this section. I'm not upset by it. I'm happier as it is, because we want downtime in the game, and we want it to take a long time to fix a ship when you bang it up. Okay? So don't bang up your ship. Try to solve your problems like Star Trek rather than Star Wars. Talk to people rather than shoot them. There is nothing on building a Spelljammer ship, nothing whatsoever, or customizing ships, which will likely be something that everybody will want. Like, how many people want to be able to customize their ship if they get a ship, or to build a Spelljammer ship from scratch? Well, there's nothing here. You'd have to do something with it, I guess. You'd have to figure it out yourself. Kind of unfortunate, if you ask me. There's a lot of ships in this book, and I want to go over every single one of them. Why? Because this is the best part of the book as far as I'm concerned. Out of the entire book here, the best part of the book is definitely the ships. And it's kind of unfortunate that that's the case, but I suppose we shouldn't be surprised, because it is Spelljammer and it is about flying around in ships and D&D. The Bombard is a gift design with a huge cannon suitable for flight, water. It can land on solid ground. Terrifying destructive power and utility. I was really impressed with this ship. It's very, very good. The Damselfly is basically a flying race car or insect. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Lex, the TV series. Not a particularly practical long distance vehicle though. It's not something you would use if you wanted to go a long distance, and there's not a lot of space, so you're not carrying cargo on this thing. The Flying Fish ship. It's a common vessel for oceans and wild space travel, suitable for cargo, great, practical, but fantastic. I would say a fantastical design. I mean, it's what we were kind of expecting for Spelljammer is a flying fish. Yeah, I know that's what I was kind of imagining. All the Spelljammer ships I've seen in the past tend to be the flying fish design. Yes, that's right. The Hammerhead ship. It's a heavy cargo ship that can ram ships and objects, fly through wild space, or sail the seas. Great. It's basically a Star Wars Hammerhead ripoff, if you hadn't figured it out. It took me a little while to figure it out. I knew I recognized it from somewhere. The Lamprey ship. A very old ship design with benefits and flaws that are quite amusing, I have to say. But the best advantage is the front jaw for locking onto a ship when boarding. I thought that was the key thing that made it stand out. The living ship has a Trent or tree creature on board that makes this really strange. Okay, it's really odd. But it can repair the ship, and it does stand out as a ship. It is peculiar, it is strange, but it still does stand out amongst all the others that I saw here. The only thing is, I wish that the Trent could also fight for you on the ship, and there's nothing here that sort of indicates that, so it would require the Dungeon Master to allow you to do something like that, and you can't right now. Right, the Nautiloid, or almost feel like feel like we're going down 20,000 leagues under the sea a little bit here. It's a very alien ship. It's a mind flayer ship. You want to avoid this thing at all costs. With its awesome tentacles, I looked at the tentacle thing and I was like, oh my god, really? And it's got plane hopping abilities. I want to steal this ship. I probably won't be able to buy this ship, okay? I won't be able to build it because there's no way to build ships in this, apparently this campaign book, but I want to steal this thing. If I can just get past all the mind flayers, that might be a bit tricky, but we'll see how we go. We're still going to give it a go. The Night Spider. This is a Neogi design. Basically, the Neogi are spider-like creatures that control your mind. Very dangerous. Not very big, but very, very dangerous. You never want to discover a night spider as far as I'm concerned, because it means you have to deal with Neogi, who will try to make you slaves, and Umberhulks, who will kill you, because the whole crew is probably full of Umberhulks, because that's what they do, is they mind control Umberhulks. Oh, when I saw this, I was so happy when I was reading this. It's a scorpion ship. Does exactly what I want it. It flies in space and it walks on the land. Brilliant. I love it. One of my favorite ships out of all of them. The strike ship. It's quick, but only has its utility is pretty limited to flying in the air or wild space. It's a bit dull. I mean, it's a more modern ship, yes, but it's still dull as. I didn't like this one that much. The Space Galleon. It's a standard looking ship that sails on the water and flies in space without attracting a lot of attention, and actually probably a very practical ship. Even if it doesn't have the cool factor, you could get away with quite a lot with a ship like this, and that's probably why it's been included, so that you can have a campaign where you can sort of run between sailing on the oceans and sailing in space if you want to. Oh yeah, that's right, there's a squid ship. It has a cool ram, which potentially will smash through somebody's hull. It has no tentacle attack, but it can be used on the sea and in space. I was really hoping for another submarine, but actually, even though it's a squid ship, it doesn't actually act as a submarine. Now, did I miss something? And the fact that the tentacles lack a feature, like you can't use the tentacles to make any kind of attack. That sort of sucked too. I thought this ship could have been done a lot better than it was. Somebody has either wanted to make sure that it wasn't the go-to for everybody, but unfortunately it doesn't do what I want it to do. The Star Moth. This is an elf ship with lots of space to move around, but not really that exciting. I looked at it, it's kind of pretty, I guess, but I wasn't that impressed. The Turtle ship is a flying fortress it literally, it looks like a flying fortress from World War II. But of course it looks like a turtle, that also acts as a submarine. It's my favorite toy here. Out of all of them, this is the one I would want the most to be able to use, is to fly around in this thing. Yes, that's right. It's a tyrant ship. It's a beholder ship that only has flying abilities, but it's equipped with eye stalk cannons. That's awesome. I don't want to have this ship, but I certainly want to blow one up if I get the chance. I will feel great satisfaction in doing so. The Wasp ship. It's the bargain basement ship with only flying properties, nothing else. It will not burn a hole in your pocket. It's pretty. It certainly does the job, but yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's my favorite pick. I think the Spelljammer ships are well done generally. Almost everything it's everything you read here is really quite nice. I really did enjoy going through the ships. Whether it's the stat blocks, the weapon details, the deck plans, the vessel information sections. Some of them are quite small. I feel like a lot of wasted space in many cases. You might see there's a lot of blank spaces. That kind of pissed me off a bit. Vessel information is there. The artwork is good. I like the artwork. I have no issue with that. The one thing that the Spelljammer ships needed is a description of what you find in each section of the ship. As you'll notice, there's a sort of like a ledger that shows you, with the deck plan, what that part of the deck plan is. But there was space. We could have had what would you normally find in this part of the ship? And they could have done a much better job of breaking that down. And I think that was a lost opportunity. That really annoyed me a lot when I saw that. I'm not happy about that fact. Now, one of the better parts of the book is the Rock of Bral. The history of Bral is interesting. It's reasonably detailed. I actually read through it and thought, okay, they've done a really good job here, considering the lack of space that they have available to work with. So good, well done, Wizards of the Coast. You did a great job. The basic non-player character information is very simple. Okay, it's really, really basic. Not enough in my opinion. I think we needed to have a lot more. The area breakdown of the Rock of Bral is good, but a little light on information at times. I did find that there was occasions where there wasn't quite enough. I needed a little bit more. And then there is included in here, the Rock of Bral has a large double-sided colour pull-out poster map, which I haven't pulled out for obvious reasons. I don't want to lose it, which is awesome. I think the map itself that's provided is actually great. I love the map. But I also want the map included in the book if I lose the pull-out poster map, rather than just have the poster map. I would have preferred to have another version of it, even just in the pages. There's just not enough information on the Rock of Bral. I mean, you could say, yeah, you can DMs can fill in the rest, but that's the whole point of getting a campaign book, is that they do that for you, so you don't have to do that. If you want to change things, then you change it. But they've kind of left out a lot of stuff that needed to be there, and that was frustrating, I have to say. And that's all that's in the book. That's the whole book, right? You've just seen everything there is to see. But I'm not finished, because I think it's worthy to say a few things about this book in terms of what it was trying to do, and what it did well, what it didn't do well, what was the standout features. There are a couple of things I haven't said, and I will say them now because it seems reasonable. That's why you will hear. In terms of a summary for this thing, this is what I'm going to say about this book, ultimately. The Astral Adventurer's Guide is too expensive for the tools that it offers, in my opinion. The restriction on making the guide, the book itself, 64 pages to fit into the box set, significantly harms the final product, because the designers needed more pages to do this topic justice. If they had more pages and more space, it could have been done. The quality of the pages is impressive. They have thicker pages with a slightly gloss finish to it, as far as I can see. which we haven't we've seen a gloss finish before, but it almost feels like it's an improvement on what we've seen in the past. The standard cover design is perfect. It depicts the topic with a Spelljammer ship in the Astral Sea being chased by an asteroid with a face and a few other strange threats, which is great. The interior artwork is a mixed bag of cartoon characters, boring stuff. There's some actually artwork here that I found quite boring, and exceptional color concepts and scenes. Some of the stuff in here is just amazing. There's a vast array of Spelljammer ship deck plans in simple black and white design, which is great. It's easy for somebody to draw out, but it will not work very well on a virtual tabletop, and if you're playing online and using virtual tabletop, not going to work very well for you. The book doesn't have an index and could have gotten away with just having a contents page if it had been redesigned. I think that there were a few things they needed to add, and then they would have been able to say, no, we don't actually need an index. Everything's in the contents page. But I feel like there's a few things that they needed to have added. There's nothing on exploring wild space. Like, there's nothing in this book about exploring wild space, the Astral Sea, which people need. It's one of the major aspects of, you want to go into the Astral Sea, you want to explore. And there's really nothing about that here that we can work with. I would say not an awesome or a great book, unfortunately. I would have hoped that it would be, but there are elements that do appeal to me and only need like a small alteration by the Dungeon Master if they have time and have the desire to do so. And that's the factor, is like, will people have the desire and time to do that? And I don't think that necessarily everybody will have the time and desire to do so. And that is unfortunate. I'm hoping that this review was useful to you. I've tried to be as honest and as objective as I can, but like all reviews, it is an opinion. Nobody does a review that is completely objective, okay? There's no such thing. What I will say is, if you have questions and comments, please put them in the comments section. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, I'm coming back, and let's have a chat. Let's see what the chat has to say. I am sorry have taken so... I mean, it's for such a small book. You probably were thinking, Fred, how could you possibly have taken so long to talk about all of that? It's because I had so many pages of notes. If I told you just how many pages of notes I wrote, it was a lot. It was more than 4 pages of notes. Seriously, that's how long I spent. I spent a lot of time working through this. And I know I'm way too late. Everybody's talked about this thing. But I looked at other people's reviews to see what they had to say as well. And I don't really agree with a lot of people. In many cases, I found their assessment and analysis not very helpful. In fact, almost useless in some cases. That shouldn't be the case. You should be able to look at somebody's review and actually get something from it. And sometimes I just feel like they would just, yeah, okay. If you're going to do a review on a book, you have to actually review the book rather than just try to make a video that people will like and then will get the attention of Wizards of the Coast, so they will send you the books for free. Okay? All right. Anyway, drink of water and then we'll deal with chat. All right. One more. I got it ready for the next go. Oh no, actually I'm going to put it right here. I need it closer to me so I don't forget. Okay, let's have a look at the poll and then we'll go through the chat. Did you buy the Spelljammer Adventurers in Space box set for Dungeons & Dragons 5e? Because you can't buy this book separately. That's another thing. You probably would have found this product would have done better if it had been sold in parts, I think. It would have made it cheaper. The actual cardboard outer box with all the artwork, that would have cost a lot of money to make. You could have made the books different sizes then, so if a book needed to have more space, then you could have more space. I just don't know that this was the right idea. And also too, why did all the books have to be hardcovered? These books will last a long time. They are well made. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, yeah, it's a solid book. It's definitely, it's got quality in terms of construction. It's got quality for sure. So yes, 25%, no, 44%. Because considering it, 25%, just watching, 6%. Okay, let's go through the chat. I'm going to be fairly quick. Nacho Man. I said hi to Nacho Man, who's also a patron. Best way to support me if you want to is on Patreon, where you get everything. Okay, all of my reviews, everything I do goes there for them. It's $1 a month. You don't have to pay very much. You can pay more if you want. There's no tiers. Or otherwise, super chats and super stickers are nice. But anyway, Fred, looks like I'm going to be playing Spelljammer in a few weeks, so not sure if I should watch this one. I don't feel like you're going to get any information out of this that would spoil it, Nacho Man, frankly. I think you'll be all right. Yeah? Phil, how's it going? Hello, how are you? I'm a big Spelljammer enthusiast, been crafting ship combats and exploration challenges for a few months with the new 5e rules. Okay, interesting. I'm curious as to how you've been able to do that with this book, because there really isn't anything there. You know what I mean? You would have to do all of it yourself. Yes, Nacho, it's your phone. Something's wrong with your phone. The live stream is definitely working. At my end, it is perfect as. Okay, it is feeding through to YouTube. They are happy as Larry right now. Okay, there is nothing to complain about, and it's coming in at 4K. So yeah, maybe turn down the resolution on your phone so it's not trying to take in too much data. I could probably say a lot about it, yes. Hi, Dan. Now, Dan is a patron and also a moderator. He's been with me a long time. Thank you, Dan, for supporting me. How's it going? I'm not buying Spelljammer, I think. I think a lot of people will be feeling the same way. You know, it's hard to look at a book and the expense and say, is it giving me what I need, and how much extra work do I need to do? Because if you just go get the PDF of the older Spelljammer books, you probably get what you need. Do you know what I mean? And they often had like a lot more. I think the problem is when you sell a concept like this to completely new people, they won't know what they're missing. But if you've played Spelljammer, and I've run a campaign in a Spelljammer campaign, you know what you're missing. You know what you hasn't been included in a book, and you know what you need. And I know for a fact that there are things that needed to be here, and they're not, and that wasn't a good thing. But I have to say, the section on the ships, a lot of the races are really quite good. I wouldn't say all of them. I think there are aspects to it that are great, and there are other bits that are almost completely useless. And it's the completely useless bits that actually kind of pissed me off the most. How's it going, Overboard Miniature Gaming? Hi, Joe. Overboard is actually a patron and also a moderator. Welcome. I'm a huge Warhammer 40k type style person. Pirate ships and soap opera space isn't for me. So here's one of the things that I think. Let's talk about Spelljammer for a second. There are a couple of aspects to Spelljammer. One, Spelljammer can be terrifying and alien and dark as well. And that's what Overboard wants. And that's what a lot of adults want. And then there's people who like cutesy, funny, weird and wacky. I like weird and wacky too. Okay? And that'll suit them. The problem is we're getting probably too much weird and wacky and not enough hardcore. Do you know what I mean? And the problem is that Wizards of the Coast is trying to make books that appeal to a younger audience and an older audience. You can't do that. You have to have different products for them. And if you understand that that's what you would need to do. Now, here's the other problem too. If you make a product that's very adult, very dark and terrifying and scary, and the adults are using that stuff and the kids are playing with a different product, and they see the adults playing with the dark, scary stuff that mum and dad don't want them to touch, the kids want the dark, scary, horrific stuff. That's what they want. After that, cutesy pie stuff, yeah, that's a nice novelty. They still want that, but they want the Ugh. They want the alien. They want the predator. They want the horror in space, the event horizon. Yeah, they want that stuff as well. The parents won't be happy about it though. Epic scale battles, yeah, epic scale battles, and with the what you have here is probably you're going to have to use the Dungeon Master Guide and a lot of alteration. Lugs Gaming, hello. Look, if I got your name wrong, I do apologise. 5e Spelljammer is just lazy cash grab. Yeah, I think it was, the problem is that they restricted the page count because they were probably told we can make a box set for you for this price, but each book has to be, if you want hardcover, it has to be 64 pages. And we can't do anything else with that. Ditch the Dungeon Master screen and make one of the books a bit bigger. And this book needed to be bigger. This is the book that needed to be bigger. The adventure book, I have no problems with an adventure book of 64 pages. I frankly don't have too much of a problem with a 64-page monster manual for Spelljammer. Okay? But the campaign book needed to be bigger. And if they got rid of that silly Dungeon Master screen, they could have done it. But they put it in instead. I'm like, no, it's not the right idea. Just get the 2E print-on-demand book. Yeah, you can. The 4th edition Astral C book. I ran Spelljammer for 4E. I wouldn't grab the 4E version myself. It's all right, I guess. I'd probably go with the 2E version, the 2nd edition, the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons stuff. It's just better. It's just better than 4E stuff, frankly. And I've got a lot of 4E books. I'm all eating sci-fi wise. This is not tickling me yet. No, I can understand. Yeah, it would take a lot to tickle you, I imagine. Nobody else knows how to DM. That's a poor excuse. Yeah, we're Star Trekking across the multiverse, but we don't know how to get there, and we don't know where we're going. And yeah, if there had been more, it would have been worth grabbing. I mean, look, it wouldn't have been hard to fix a lot of this stuff. It really wouldn't. I heard it's very Flash Gordon inspired. Well, I suppose it is, because Gary Gygax likes Flash Gordon. So did Dave Arneson, but I wouldn't say that that's Flash Gordon. You know, and I mean, you can say anything is inspired by something else. They've taken lots of elements from all over the place. You were looking forward to a cool sci-fi campaign setting for D&D, but wasn't wanting Spelljammer. Never liked the setting. More fantasy than sci-fi. Well, see, here's the thing. That's what Spelljammer is. And I think you're right that there's definitely a place to go more sci-fi. But you have to look at a product that Wizards of the Coast is not making. Because they are fantasy rather than just sci-fi. Do you know what I mean? There'll be plenty of IPs out there that will use the 5e rules to try to run their roleplay game that is more science fiction-like. Such as Star Wars. I mean, there is actually a Star Wars 5e, people. If you did not know, you can. It's free. You can go and you can download the PDFs. You can access the website online. It's got everything you need. It's very good. You can also play Star Trek as a role-play game. Do you know what I mean? Phil, there's already 3+ DM's Guild supplements for building ships. It's almost like Wizards of the Coast knows through third-party creators will create options. Probably, but they shouldn't be relying on that. The fact is, that's just another product you have to buy. It should have been in this book. Do you know what I mean? No, I haven't read the Light of Xeraxis. My problem is that the Trents acting as a Mangolier is not the only thing I was wanting. If somebody had boarded the ship, it would have been nice that the treants can actually engage in melee and bash things up close. That's kind of what I was looking for. What do you got here, Joe? I'm so glad I didn't buy this one. Thanks, Fred, for showing this. No regrets. That's all right. Not a problem. That's what I do here. Talk about it, show it to you. Phil, the Scorpion ship is your favourite ship too. It's not my absolute favourite. I really did like it. It does exactly what I expected it to do. I still like the Turtle more than anything else. Has been using it in the Descent into Avernus game. You're using the Scorpion ship in the... Okay, really cool. There are no big metal sci-fi spaceships in this. No, not at all. Yes, Nacho, I do know you like squid ships and you like squids. I did pick that up just a little bit. The Scorpion, Night Spider, and Damselfly are metal. The rest are mostly wood or ceramic. Yeah, but I don't think that's quite what he was meaning. It's not so much what they're made out of. It's does it look like a spaceship, a science fiction spaceship? No, there aren't any. They could have put a flying disc in there, and people would have been like, "Oh, now I can be in an alien ship and abduct people or beings, take them home for experimentation." You're starting the next year? Okay, Dan. Okay, cool. Well, that's not very far away. That's very close, isn't it? Yeah. So Overboard's not looking for insects, animals, and pirate-like ships that sail on the ship MC. Oh, good. How's it going, Spirit Wolf? How are you? I will talk about the Light of Xeraxis in the future, but not today. Yeah. So Light of Xeraxis that's true. So I understand why they bundled it together, and I understand the idea is you can have multiple books open all at once. But as a dungeon master, all of you know fully well. Seeker, don't run away. I need to talk to you. Okay. I don't know if you heard my message last time, but I want to chat with you specifically. So I'll call you out in a second. It's nothing bad, Seeker, by the way. Here's the thing. You never have enough table space or desk space to be able to fold out that many books while you're running a game. I am unusual, and I have a huge desk designed for me to lay out all of my gear and battle maps, which people don't usually do. They don't usually have a desk the size that I have. Their table space is going to be taken up with food and other stuff that the players are using. You're back. So Seeker, I want to talk to you specifically in a second. So don't run away, because I have something to say. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fine if everybody hears. It's not bad, by the way. It's all fine. Okay. So I think that's the problem. Is there isn't actually space to fold out 3 books if you were using 3 books, looking at monsters, looking at the campaign guide, looking at the adventure all at once. So although the idea has appeal, it still doesn't work, as far as I'm concerned. Will you review third-party books? Been on the fence about buying the monsters know what they're doing. No, I probably won't be going out of my way to buy books. I'm in New Zealand. Buying books is expensive. So, and you probably already know this, Nacho, because you are in New Zealand. You've been told that it's like the law section of Volo's guide. Okay. I wouldn't say that at all. You can access most of the Monsters Know information on the website. Being in a book is great, and him selling it as a product makes sense, absolutely. But here's the problem. Books are expensive. They're getting shipped from overseas. Costs me premium dollar, even if I buy from the book depository. Buying from the book depository and Amazon is actually now more expensive. I have to buy through importers, and that means I have to go and then try and find who got the best price. And it's still way too expensive. And book reviews do not make me money. Okay, they never do. It's not like being a YouTuber in North America, where it doesn't matter what size channel you are and you ask the right people at Wizards of the Coast and they'll send you books to review for free. They post it to you. I don't get that. AJ Pickett doesn't get that. Not that he would care about doing reviews anyway. Okay, so it doesn't work that way. So I have to be very specific. I have to try to buy things that I would be interested in. And I'm not always interested in all the stuff that they put out. And so, yeah, I was hoping this would be a better product, but it isn't. And I didn't see anybody flip through it enough to be satisfied. I was like, okay. Anyway. Without homebrew rules, ship combat is best as a theatre of the mind. Exactly, Phil. That's exactly what I was thinking too. 58-foot scale ships are just, yeah. in any case, so Seeker, if you're here, please let me know. You know how you were talking to me about Dragonlance. Now, Dragonlance is coming out shortly. Right now, as of right now, they're already sending the books to people in North America to review as a preview. One of those channels that are doing that is Fry Minis. Eric at Fry Minis is actually going to be running a live stream very, very shortly on that. And so that means there's going to be at least, I would say, something in the vicinity of 2 or 3 weeks before I will get access to it on D&D Beyond. Even if I have access to it, if you know what I mean, Seeker. So is it still really worth me talking about it rather than just waiting months and months when I can finally buy the product, if I want to buy the product? I mean, I think that's the question, is that going to work? Okay. He is going to be doing a review on Dragonlance in about 52 minutes. I'm going to put the link in the description so you can go there later on. But I think it might be worth people's effort to I mean, I know people like it when I do reviews, but even if I have access to it, it would only be a flip through on the website. Do you know what I mean? And as a result of that, you'll find that I won't be able to dissect it the way that I normally do with review. So you got a few people here. So let's put up a vote. I'm going to close that poll right now. I'm going to put up a new poll. Okay, I'm going to ask you right now, for those of you who are here, let me take this off so I can actually do this properly. Do you want me to discuss my first impressions of Dragonlance when it is released officially? Dragon. How did I get... Apparently I can't spell dragon. and there's an O in there. Oh, okay. Yes, no. Okay, Dragonlance. Yes. No. Yeah, I'm saying about Dragonlance, like, is it really going to be worth it? Because people are going to have access to this book for a long time, like 3 weeks before I ever get access to it. Fry Minis already has the books. He's about to do a review in about 52 minutes. How's it going, Dungeons and Chronics? So do you really want me to do this? I'm just putting in the poll right now. I'm putting it in right this very second. I may even post this poll on the channel community page. But since you people are the ones who are here, part of the live stream, you probably got more invested in this than I do. Do you know what I mean? Personally, I like to hear your reviews on all the books / D&D Beyond, but if they don't make money, I understand. So you know, Seeker, that I'm not going to be paying for the Dragonlance on D&D Beyond. You know that. Okay. So that's not the issue at all. But does it make sense for me to do a first impressions when it's released? Or is it better to simply wait until I've had time to mull over the topic? I mean, who cares about the physical book? It's the same content. I get that. I get that. But this is why I'm posting this poll. I really want people to respond. If there are people here, please pick something, okay? Overboard, what do you got here? Yes, I pre-ordered Dragonlance, but don't know everything about this campaign. Your opinion is valued. Yeah, but so if I have time, I can do a proper review. Do I do a first impressions when it's first released, which is fine, I can do that. Or do I just wait? Because I kind of feel like maybe it's better to wait. And for me, I think Dragonlance as a campaign works better than as a standalone adventure. I think the adventure book is going to run into problems for various reasons. Hi, JP. How's it going, JP? So, yeah, hopefully people are voting so that I can get... Oh, okay. That's like... Okay, apparently my opinion does carry some weight. Because look, let's get real. It's not just going to be Fry Minis who's going to do a review on it in a less than an hour. It might not be a review, but I can tell you now, Eric is going to spend the entire weekend pumping out short edited videos on everything in that book. Anything to do with player character stuff, he's going to pump it out like you wouldn't believe before anybody else can. Now, you may not agree with Eric, but it's still going to be out there. Do you know what I mean? I've got until the 6th of December to decide. Yes, but here's what I can do, Seeker. If people really want me to do this, what I will do is I will schedule the thing for my Friday in the week of the 6th of December. And then when it's available, I'll just shuffle my pre-programmed lessons that I do. You know, something like the Dungeon Master lore, or the beginner character creation, or the D&D 5e core rules demonstration stuff. I can then I just shift the live streams around once I have access to it. As you know, you haven't heard of Fry Minis? Okay, that's cool. Yes, you're right, Derry. How are you doing? It's got a complicated magic system. I don't know how they're going to deal with making it less complicated, but who knows? Yeah. You like Spock 3D chessboard for the Spelljammer maps? Yeah. Yeah, good one. See, I feel like maybe waiting is a better idea. And Nerdarchy is probably going to get the book before I do, or access to it. They'll probably get it, weeks before it's finally released. You'll probably find that Nerd Immersion, Ted over at Nerd Immersion, will get access to it. There'll probably be smaller channels that will get access it well before I do. So it's not like I'm going to cash in or ride the train of popularity because I managed to get hold of it first. Do you know what I mean? It should be obvious. I'm 51 and I'm on YouTube. I don't do popular. I'm not popular. I'm not Jenny D. I'm not Colby. Colby's a nice guy, by the way. I've met him before. If you didn't know, from D4. So I have to sell myself and my opinion and what I do by actually carrying a lot more weight, because I don't have the pretty factor. And I speak in a New Zealand accent. And frankly, I don't think a lot of Americans are particularly fond of that. So, yeah. And I'm not flashy. Do you know what I mean? I can be funny. I'm pretty good at being funny. But I'm not that flashy. Do you want Fred? It's your channel. Nacho. Really? Okay. Dear. Yeah, so there's a lot of nostalgia. Now, if they do it right, they'll cash in on those people who have the nostalgic factor. And then who knows what the new generation will think of Dragonlance. Because, who knows? I feel like they might have gone back to the best part of Dragonlance. But I read the novels. That was really... I never ran Dragonlance as a D&D campaign. Or even played in Dragonlance as a campaign. I like the idea of doing it, though. Yeah, Dragonlance definitely going to be a challenge. Now, what do you got here, JP? The original... Oh, let me just move this. I can't quite see. The original Dragonlance campaign was my first campaign back in the 80s. Yeah, you would know more. I think you mentioned that to me. Oh, so but JP, by the way, is one of my mates from my home group. For my old school campaign, the new book, maybe a bit of a disappointment. Yeah, I think that's... I think we're going to wind up feeling the heat a little bit with that one. Okay, fine, Fred. I get it. Look, it looks to me like a lot of people want me to do a first impressions. I get it. I understand. And look, if you guys are here, I mean, a lot of you, a lot of the people who are watching right now are the ones who follow me the most out of anybody else. So I'll do it. I will. So Seeker, I'll do it. Totally immersive, still good classic. Yeah, it's going to be a task to turn it into an adventure. Do what you want, Fred. It's your channel. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's another thing. You don't watch any other D&D channels anymore. Oh my God, really? I finally saturated the market? I don't know that I have. The numbers don't say that I have. It certainly was my attempt to do so, though. And so in theory, we should be looking forward to it, I guess, then. Yeah, well, yeah. That's true. I do me. But also, I'm looking at a compromise. You know how I'm going to feel about reviewing the Sorcerer subclass. You know how I feel about subclasses as it is. It's like, Seeker supports the channel, by the way, if you didn't know, just in a different way. Okay. So I will do a first impression. I will schedule it. It will happen. Okay. Cosplay, make my own cosplay uniform. I don't think would it. No, I've actually got a stomach on me right now. You know, when you're watching live streams and I start doing this, it's because I'm trying not to burp. I've got so much gas in me, and I can't control the problem. I don't think you're dull. Your point of view. Thank you, Todd. Todd is also a patron. Supports me on Patreon. What do you got here? Well, the initial Dragonlance novels. I don't think that later on I didn't really get that interested. I'm buying for Lord Soth. That's what Nacho's after. Lord Soth. So let's go back to the book that we are actually talking about today. And look, let's have a look at some of this stuff, because it's kind of cool. Before we finish up, I honestly was really impressed with some of these sections. Like, it was truly impressive, some of the stuff they had put here. I just wish they'd done a little bit more. So let's just scroll on back here. I want to talk about the squid ship first. Now, even though it's not necessarily my favorite ship, what I have to say is the potential for it was awesome. Can you imagine the RAM feature is on it? The RAM idea is it makes so much sense. But I wanted the tentacles to be able to do something. Like, maybe you can port the tentacles from the other... There's a ship that does have tentacles. Which one was that one? Here. The Nautiloid. The Nautiloid, the Mind Flayer ship. You could use this feature and port it over to the squid. And then the squid, like, becomes, well, probably the only ship anybody wants now. I mean, it makes it way too good, right? But it doesn't make sense. And I want to make it to submarine. It needs to be like the turtle. It can go underwater. That means everybody wants a squid. Okay? Like, who doesn't want to have a squid now when you do that? But that's what this ship needed to have. And the price on it, they give a price which I think is helpful. Where is the ship price? No. Yeah, there. 25,000 gold pieces for the squid. With those improvements, it should be much more than that. It probably should be the most expensive ship out of all of them, in my opinion. Probably, probably close to what the. I mean, I think the turtle ship should be one of the more expensive ships too, frankly. So I love the ship, but it would have been really nice to have a little descriptor of what is in each area. I suppose this ledger does tell you a lot already, but it's not quite enough, if you know what I mean. I would have liked just a little bit more. So Dan, thank you. I'll see you later. You go to work, get some sleep. So the next thing I want to say is I'm not even going to bother mentioning this thing because this is what you kind of expect anyway. Do you know what I mean? Sales on the and this one is this one I don't want to talk about either because it's not that exciting. This one here. This reminds me. Do you remember? What was his name? I can't remember. There's Clash of the Titans. They redid Clash of the Titans, the original movie, right? And then they had Wrath of the Titans come out as well. And it reminds me of those giant scorpions that the characters were riding on, this ship here. And this is exactly the sort of thing that you want. And the fact that they can fly as well is like awesome. I was so happy to see something like this. It's got all the bits and pieces that I really wanted. It's a lot of the ship prices seem like they're almost kind of the same, all very close to the same. Doesn't seem to be a lot of variation. I think this makes so much sense if you're dealing with the elemental planes, where you're not necessarily dealing with water, because most of the elemental planes there's only one that's really going to be covered in water, right? So moving around on water doesn't make sense. This is actually probably more versatile than all of the others, just because it walks on land and it flies. So you cover all your bases pretty well. And then, of course, you could say, well, you don't need to actually crawl around on the land if you can fly anyway, Fred. So what's the big deal? Yeah, granted, that's true. But it's a scorpion, okay? I kind of would have... I mean, the fact that it's got claws on it, you've got a claw attack as well, is awesome. I would have been nice if it had the stinger actually had a sting to it. But anyway, I suppose riding around on a actual scorpion that has a stinger is for another day. This here, in terms of artwork and imagery and design, it's cool, but it doesn't really do very much. Do you know what I mean? It just comes across as being a Nyogi ship, and it's full of Umberhulks and Nyogi, so that's bad. But the ship itself is actually pretty dull, and it's just cosmetically it's interesting, but technically it's not, if you know what I mean. This is the Nautiloid. This is a cool ship, simply because of the tentacles, in my opinion. This is the one feature that stood out for me the most, was the fact that it had tentacles on it, and the fact that it would be covered in mind flayers. Like, do not put just one mind flayer on this ship. Like, you want the players to have to die a few times to be able to get hold of this little sucker. And the price on this, why has it got a price of 50 gold pieces? Like, how is it that you were able to actually do mind flayers sell their ships to other people? I feel like it's something you need to... Having the price there, I suppose, is if you're playing a campaign and the players are playing as mind flayers, maybe. Or maybe they do sell them. I don't know. Maybe in your world they will. Yeah, the only ship that can make it to Athos is the Scorpion ship, Derry. Absolutely, I get it. But yeah, I don't feel like this is a ship you should be able to buy. I feel like this is a ship you have to steal. You have to get in there and take some heads and get lucky and watch your crew die before your eyes and bawl like a baby in the process. Right, yeah, that's a good point, Seeker. I like that idea. Yeah. Maybe the price is the standard rate, and then the one stolen of the second on the secondary market. Yeah. What do you got here, Phil? Wizards of the Coast doesn't support the ships as combatants, so all of the flavour of the ship have almost no function at all. Yeah, I get that, but that's what people want today. Umberhulk bombs. Yeah, that's right. Umberhulk shock troops. That's with the Nyogi, that is. And then on a Nautiloid, you'd have all sorts of creatures that they would have enslaved. And, Mind Flayers will enslave Umber Hulks. I just talked about the Umber Hulk the other day, and, like, that's a thing they do. The Living Ship, as I said, I really like the fact that there was a Trent on here that apparently it's capable of replenishing oxygen and repairing the ship more efficiently, and apparently it can fling something as well, which is not obvious from this. Like, the stat block itself doesn't say that. Oh God! Oh no! Here we go. Sorry, people. If I am burping it, I just have no other control over it. So here, this ship, I feel like the Trent needed to be able to attack in melee. Like, that would have been one of the coolest things to have happen, is to have added that in. That's the thing that I really wanted the most. But also, too, I don't feel like it's tree enough. I feel like the design itself isn't sort of aesthetically druidy or rangery, or, I feel like it needed to have more foliage. So, like, I was expecting to see a ship that had, like, carpets of flowers or drapery or growing vines over it. And it doesn't kind of have that. It just has a ship that sort of embedded itself into here. And I feel like a bit more vegetation. Vegetation that doesn't destroy the ship. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. This was an interesting ship. I was just amused that this thing had a tendency to fall over. If anything, the claw on the front was cool, but the fact that it could fall over and it was prone to doing so, I guess that's the sort of thing you don't buy. Do you really want to spend 20,000 on a ship that does that? Like, it would probably be easier to just say, I found it in a scrapyard, somebody threw it away. The Hammerhead, obviously, the Hammerhead ship from Star Wars, it's based off that, isn't it? To a large extent. What's weird about the Hammerhead is the front of the ship has got a point to it, and yet it's got this bulbous section on the front. So I'm like, how does this work in terms of ramming and something? I feel like the front of the ship is going to get damaged before the actual sides actually have. Is that not the whole point? Have I missed something? It's obviously designed to look like the Hammerhead shark as well. Yeah. There's something a little bit off about this design that I didn't quite understand. Moving on. The flying. No, it's your standard stuff. Damselfly. Again, when I saw this, it was not quite the dragonfly from Lex that I was imagining, but it was pretty close. And if we had the dragonfly from Lex that was a much larger ship and could destroy planets, of course everybody would want that, wouldn't they? But yeah, obviously not something you should put in the book, but would have been amusing as a ship to contend with, maybe. Or can you even contend with that? Maybe you can't. And this one, the gift ship, suits them right down to the ground. It was pretty cool. Can I say, I believe that Ghosts of Salt Marsh has a whole bunch of rules around combat that you might find a bit more useful in terms of trying to run spaceship battles, and ship-to-ship travel and stuff like that. There should have been something like this in here that was a bit more robust, and there isn't. But anyway, they did it. That's how it is. That's how it works. Okay, I am going to bugger off, and I'm going to let you guys get on with your day. I will be back in a couple of days. I am taking a break, obviously, because this is kind of the end of the week for me. This is where I actually sort of have to collect myself, get myself organized for the upcoming week, organize all the live streams, put them up, make sure they're scheduled, all that sort of thing, get all the stuff onto Patreon. So if you're a patron, you're going to get your email is going to get absolutely pounded today as I release stuff to you. I do apologize, but you knew it was going to happen. Okay, so I think for me, I want to do the monster book next. I definitely want to cover the monster book next. And because there are so few monsters, I'm probably going to talk about every single monster in the book. Because I don't think there's that many. Is it like 30-something monsters in that book? And Boo's Menagerie? So I think I'm probably going to take the week and sort of like tick over, think about it a lot, look at them, see what I like about them, what I don't like about them. And I'll try to keep to a sentence talking about each monster, rather than having to torture you with 40 minutes of me talking about a book, which you probably didn't want, 40 minutes of me talking about a book. But it was definitely a lot of coverage. So yeah, the week, so in a couple of days, Lost Mine of Fandel, the Dungeon Master tutorial will be running. We'll be doing Cragmore Castle after that. What am I doing after that? Oh, Dungeon Master preparation, that's right. We're doing Dungeon Master preparation and we're doing locations. And I was going to cover pyramids, but I have been convinced to cover the Beholder Lair. I'm hoping it will be ready in time. I'm going to cover the Beholder Lair for our Dungeon Master prep. Okay? Oh yes, don't forget the Monstrous Compendium Volume 1, the creatures in there. I think the creatures in that book are brilliant. Probably better than a lot of the monsters in the published books. I think that there was a mistake leaving those monsters in that compendium. That was a terrible idea. Terrible idea. Should have been in the main book. Anyway. So yes, and then after that, what am I talking about? Oh, I'm going to talk about the lore for the Yeti and do a workshop on the Yeti this week after Dungeon Master Prep, the day after. Then I'm doing, I think it'll be the Paladin or the Ranger, hopefully, this week in terms of beginner character creation. We'll see how we go. And then after that, we're doing Magic, the mechanics behind Magic. Do you know what I mean? So that's our week, and then our final thing, it'll be Boo's Menagerie. I'll talk about the monsters for Spelljammer, because I like monsters, and you can never get too many of them. In any case, I'm about to lose my voice. It is time for me to sign off, let you guys get on with your lives, and do something else. So thank you to my patrons and everybody who's been supporting me by watching my live streams and taking part in my live streams. I do appreciate it. Thank you for watching the replays of my live streams and my edited videos. Thank you for putting up with my shorts. I kind of have to do it. YouTube wants me to do shorts, so be it. I'll do them. And wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, or the wee early morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.